The soil, the earth, creates minerals that are converted into an organic form in a plant. So that plant is really a great source of vitamins and minerals coming from the earth.
Sounds like this experience that happened in Philippines with this tsunami and the aftermath of that helped you sort of identify some critical items that are really needed after disaster. And
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
and so you kind of stumble. Nutrition is probably one of them, and it sounds to me like you stumbled upon this very nutritious bar. Sounds like it that that
Well, I
could
had
be
to create
easily
it. Yeah,
accessible.
I was just thinking of the four things that I've eaten my whole life: fruits, grains, nuts, and vegetables, and how can I package that in a way that can be protected and safe and using, I'm not a real, fan of plastic, but I'll tell you it can come in handy when you're preserving food, and you can wrap your food with it and keep it safe, and from bacteria and mold. And
So these are not, you don't need to refrigerate them, they're shelf stable. That's the beauty of it, right?
yeah, because they're so packed together tightly, and I
And
vacuum
then
pack
moisture
them.
them.
And
Okay.
some of them I didn't vacuum pack; I just put in plastic bags. And in the
Is this something?
Philippines,
Is this a product that's on the market, or you
no,
have it?
no, no, it's not a
You can
product
taste
that's
it.
on the market. I made this machine, and I made them, and then I've been passionate about doing it, and I certainly don't want someone else to like take my idea totally away. But I'll tell you, I if something like this was out on the market, I'd work around the clock selling it, to people. Or I'd be promoting it because it's not only good for health, it's good for. So I'm a sailor. When you travel blue water sailing, you need to know that you have enough food. And when you go on trips in disaster zones to help, you need to know that you have enough food. And it's nice and easy to calculate. One bar is one meal. 3 bars, I
Wow.
usually eat three bars in a day, and I feel okay. I feel, and I'm 55, and I've been eating like this my whole life. So I don't know. I'm not an expert at all of the nutritional things that people. There is some debating that goes on, out there when it comes to nutrition. Obviously, people say you need lots of protein, you need this kind of protein, and then people say you need lots of fats, but you need this kind of fat. I just know what not only I've done, I know what my dad has done, and at some point here, I'll bring my dad into the story because he was definitely an influence in my life, being a health
Mhm.
crusader, but also a survivalist. He survived. He was born in 1905, so he went through the Depression, and he had a wife and 4 kids during the Depression, and his first family. He lived to 100, 101, born in 1905, died in 2006, and he taught me a lot of stuff. So
Was this something you handed out to people, kind of in the
yeah,
Philippines?
yeah. I
Wow.
mean, I could only make so many, and so when I went places, I would pass it out and help people, and they. I was always surprised at how they liked the taste of it. I was like, wow, because people said to me, "Oh, it'll never go over unless it tastes really, really good." But I'll tell you, I could name a lot of products that are really popular that initially people don't think they taste very good. Beer is kind of one of them, but people they're more interested um, in what it does for them, the feelings they get or the health that they get, and if they feel healthy and have energy, then eventually they start liking it, even if they don't. But I'll tell you, it's not bad tasting. You think about coconut and raisin or peanut and or dates,
What could be
and
bad about that? I mean, that sounds great.
that, and then you put in. You don't taste the vegetable, the malunggay. You don't taste that.
But you say
Yeah.
these are really highly nutritious in it's something you should, well, if there's
In
available,
my
you should
That's
have
in
it
my
around.
opinion. In my opinion, um, everybody has their ideas when it comes to health. But I think, if I may say this, the Bible has always been my favorite textbook when it comes to disasters, when it comes to health. And in the Bible it says, "Lean not to your own understandings, in all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your path." And um, there's so much instruction in the Bible about how to live. And so, I go back to the beginning when God created humans and gave us a diet. And at that time says, Genesis 1:29, "Behold, I give you every herb bearing seed so upon the face of the earth." That was the fruits. So initially, trees produce fruits, of course, and the original diet is the fruits. Then later, herbs were added, for the healing of the nation, as we read in Revelation. So now we've got grains, we've got herb. The grain is really the seed of the fruit, because whatever it is, even if it's a wheat, it's the offspring of that plant. So, and the seed has higher concentration of the plant's immune system. So whatever chemicals are in that seed, if you eat it, are going to get into your body. And a lot of people don't know that, and it's really simple when you think about it. Seeds. I remember. I'll just say this: when I was, I think I was about 10, and my cousin was 5, so he's 5 years younger. And we were talking about seeds and apple. I was eating apple seeds, and someone said, "You're not supposed to eat the seeds; they're not good." And I said, "What do you think God made them for? They're to eat." And then my little 5-year-old cousin said, "No, they're not. They're to be planted to grow another apple tree." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." So he was, I was surprised, and the adult there was laughing. Yeah, he was pretty smart. The seed has chemicals in it that keep it from being eaten by bugs and stuff, so that it has a chance to grow. You know, and there's tannins, there's different chemicals in seeds. I don't want to go down the list and name them all, but those seeds are more potent in certain nutrients than the rest of the plant. Also, the roots have more potency, so you just have to clean it more. So seeds, fruits, grains. The grain is more of a seed. And yeah, I hope I answered your question. I mean, I haven't gone far with this. I hope I can. It's one of my biggest passions right now in life, is to get this bar developed, created, and available, not only for just my own family and friends and people involved in traveling, but whether it's military, whether it's seamen, sailors. There's so many different organizations out there that need food, and they need to not have to worry about what they're going to eat all the time. Because I'll tell you what, my mom is a great mom, and I'll put in a little plug for her in case she watches this. Mom, I love you. Um, she gets a lot of enjoyment out of eating. So my wife also loved cooking and took a cooking class, commercial cooking, in a college. So she loves preparing, and all day is preparing all kinds of fancy dishes and foods and stuff. And that's nice. It's nice to be able to have a variety of food and whatnot. But when you're traveling in emergency situations, you just want to be able to take care of the nutrients. And if I may say, the body's made up of cells. The cells are made up of what you put in your mouth. And the sun, through photosynthesis, creates vitamins. The soil, the earth, creates minerals that are converted into an organic form in a plant. So that plant is really a great source of vitamins and minerals coming from the earth. If I'm not against. I got to say this will surprise Daniel and David, because they know my diet. I'm not against eating animals or meat, if you want to call it that, um, especially for survival and getting nutrients, because I'm interested in getting the nutrients that we need to sustain life. And I believe Jesus died for people. So people are at the top of the list of of in the animal kingdom, if you want to call it that. So if we need to eat animals, but the animals get their nutrients from the plants, is what I'm trying to say. They go out and graze and they eat. They spend all this time pretty much eating all the time. If it's like a cow or a deer, they're grazing and they're trying to get their nutrients, and so that's hard for a person to do. For example, I don't like eating between meals. I regular time, meals. But if I'm out in the forest, I eat like the animals. I graze. Whenever I come upon something edible, I'm eating it, and it's live, it's fresh. It has the enzymes, it digests faster. So I try to follow the animal kingdom when it comes to eating plants.
That's interesting concept. How God made everything the way it is, and how
I
we're
mean, some
supposed.
of some of these are my opinions, but also it's helped our family and my dad and getting through the depression and having food to eat. A neat story. During a famine in China, thousands died, but there was a little village. People were alive, and they were researched. And I don't know if you know this story, but they were eating grass, and people didn't realize how much nutrition is in grass. There's some legends about in Ireland. I forget where those legends are about people eating grass and dying, but a lot of the stories that are out there are legends. They're not true stories. There's not much merit to them because grass. When Dr. Hagawara sent out his team of researchers across the globe, spending millions of dollars to find the most nutritious food, plants, whatever, they all came back from different areas without communicating with each other, showing different grasses. Some was wheat, some was barley, some was, so it makes sense because grass grows when there's exposure to the sun, open areas where there's no trees. So it gets a lot of sunlight. It grows, in good soil. If you plant your lawn, it doesn't grow good unless you have some good soil.
Do you have any stories of surviving in, I would guess, in the wilderness or?
So I was born and raised Northern California wilderness. If you look at the United States, you'll see roads and trails, and there's one area that is the most vast open area without roads or trails in Northern California. A lot of people don't know it even exists. It's so vast and so wild. A lot of the bears, especially bears in Yosemite that are problem bears, they take to the Yola Bola wilderness because there's no people there except our family. My dad found 97 acres in this wilderness area. It was privately owned by a logger for logging the timber, and he met the man at a post office just cruising around looking for land in the wilderness, believing that the best survival place would be in the wilderness. And my dad was 65 when I was born, so I and he bought this place in 66. So I was born in 69. So before I was born, he was looking for a place. He and my mom had been married almost 10 years. My mom is quite a bit younger than my dad. And they wanted to have a family, but they wanted to make sure they could survive, and in case of problems. My dad saw the Depression, he saw World War II, he heard about and knew what was going on during World War II in Germany and the Holocaust. There was a lot of, um, you know, problems. I don't want to get into politics, but, the problems that throughout history keep happening. And he didn't want to have to go through that, so he wanted to find a place in the wilderness, and he found this place. Found this place. So that's where I was raised until we started going to Hawaii in '74 when I was 4 years old, and we lived on Molokai. I mentioned Lahaina to you earlier off this, but I actually lived in Molokai, and we had a boat, and so we'd go shopping in Lahaina, 8 miles across the Molokai East End. Our family ended up August '81 in the National Geographic for living in that place because it was so remote and it had everything. I always used to joke and laugh. People would say, "Are you going to teach us about how to survive in the wilds?" I said, "You mean the jungle or the forest of California?" because in the jungle you got banana trees and mangoes, and there's fruits everywhere, stuff you see in the supermarket. But in the forests of mainland America, where you've got just you don't have the banana, you don't have big stuff that you can see. It's kind of hidden, and you got to know what's edible and what's not. So I grew up in the forest, and we grew all of our food. We didn't go to stores and buy stuff. I remember as I got older thinking, oh, I just hate going to town. My dad would go maybe twice a month for certain supplies, and just the noise and the traffic. And I thought, where do I get water to drink? And where do I get food to eat? Because in the forest, I knew where to go. If you plant certain things, like, you get things started, like asparagus, by the way, it grows. Yeah, I mean, it starts sprouting in the spring. And so there's certain plants that grow. There's certain, if you know about permaculture, there's certain things that grow at different seasons, winter, summer. So my dad planted all kinds of different apple trees. Some apples last all winter, and they produce apples late in the fall or whatever. So then those are good in the spring, and some apples, like crab apples, are coming out in the early spring. So I knew where to go, even if it wasn't, native to the area, to get stuff. I go to town and I'd be just lost. It was a horrible experience. So I just wanted to stay out in the forest. And when I went on a hike or overnight camping, and I did that often by myself, I like to take as little as possible. I felt like the forest had everything that we needed to survive. And so I used to go out in the wintertime without a sleeping bag, just with basic clothes, a jacket, and my shoes. And I've done that many, many times and experienced. So you're asking the question, survival situations. I can think of a couple. One
Well,
time I went
Steven,
up and
one second. It's really funny that you said people are, you were kind of lost in the when you go to the city, and then but it's the opposite what is today. People, if you drop them off in the woods, they would be totally lost. Like
well,
our generation, the younger generation, everything, like it would be like, what do you do? Like there's
Just
you
say,
don't know.
where can I charge my phone?
Yeah, yeah,
I do remember a few people coming out, and their eyes were big. They were looking around a lot. Nighttime came, and they couldn't sleep. And I asked them, and my parents, I remember asking them, what's wrong? They said, it's way too quiet. It's so quiet. Because, it's just like you don't hear anything. There's no traffic. There's just an
yeah,
owl or something. And they were having anxiety. They couldn't sleep because they're used to the hum of the city. So I
very.
remember we had reel-to-reel projector, never had a TV, and we would get films at the local library. My dad it was always exciting when he'd bring home these big reels, and there was Wilderness Family Adventure and some of these films where they're living in the forest. And we had the same experiences. We had bears come in our house all the time and eat our blackberry pie off the table. We had wood, cook stoves, wood ovens. Everything was, I had to split wood and cut wood growing up and provide all the heat for the house. So for me, seeing a forest like I now have, I feel there's a peace that comes that you can't really explain when you have the knowledge and you have the resources, having firewood, having the water to drink.
That's all the time we have for today on A Life Prepped. However, remember, whether you're a seasoned prepper or just getting started, Life Prepped is here to help you be prepared for anything in any emergency. For more tips, tricks, and expert advice, head on over to our website at lifeprep.com. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to our social media channels. We'd really love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. Also, join the conversation or continue the conversation using the hashtag LifePrepped. Till next time, have a great day.